And so when you went on this journey, were there any surprises, like any things that you thought just didn't make sense when it came to this whole world of inventing a software product?
Well, I have to say that one of the surprises was how much I enjoyed it. So that was,
That's good.
yes. And the other surprise was that I will not say that it is not difficult, and I'm absolutely not belittling programmers and software developers and so forth, but it was how welcoming they are to non-technical founders. If you have an idea or a solution that makes sense, and if you can work with someone with whom you can articulate your thoughts and be able to listen closely and understand the essence of the conversation, understand that some of the terminology you may not know at all, but if you can understand the context in which it's used, you can search that up quietly later. And if you can align yourself with developers and programmers that do not have an ego, that are actually interested in sharing, that really takes you forward quickly, because then you don't have that fear factor, the concern that you're going to embarrass yourself if you don't know, or if you misspeak, then you're going to take yourself down a track that's going to waste money because you actually meant to say one thing and meant another. So if you're working with a team that is just really human, then you're able to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
And I think this is just a good point in general, that work with people who are respectful and curious. But also, I think that the best of developers, the kindest, sweetest, loveliest developers, do get frustrated with people who have completely harebrained, rubbish ideas, who don't understand the users. But essentially, I see this especially from business school students who basically, like, they've read a bunch of industry analysis and they've come up with something for a set of users that they have never even met, because they're like, we see the structural problem, there is a gap in the market, we're going to make this app. And developers generally don't have any time for that because they know it's not going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
But what I love about your case is that you are actually solving your own problem, which is, okay, I'm a dentist, I cannot access my patients. My patients still need advice, and I've got something to give them. So you're solving your problem, so you're solving the problems of other people, but also the patient problem intimately because you've been doing it for 22 years. So I
Yes.
do think that when there is a non-technical founder who really actually understands the users and the problem, then they're a joy to work with for developers, because developers then have faith that they're building something that's going to go somewhere, that it's a useful thing.
Yes.
Whereas, for people who are not yet there, who are looking who are looking for startup ideas just because they think entrepreneurship is glamorous, um, those people tend to be less favored by the developer class. What advice would you have to people who have have don't have a technical background when they're thinking about the world of tech? Because a lot of people are thinking, well, I understand that the digital age is here. Technology is everywhere. Even our coffee shop has an app. So I've got to get to grips with this stuff. And a lot of them don't even know where to get started. So what would you say to that person?
Oh, I think we just circle back to what we were speaking of earlier, is it really does help if you know the problem that you're trying to solve, or at least have a fair amount of familiarity with it. And if not, just be able to really empathize and understand and interview people well enough so that you really have a grasp,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't get lost, because
Mm-hmm.
time and money go quickly if you get lost. If you start traveling down a wrong path, and you'd quickly give up if you start seeing the dollars adding up and the pieces are just not coming together. So even myself, we were talking about going back to old pitch decks just to check if you're
Mm-hmm.
on the right path. Not that you can't evolve into something new and different and be really maybe on a better path, but sometimes you just don't want to be like lost in the weeds. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to make sure that you're staying on track as much as possible. And if you're familiar with your topic, then that's really the number one. And yeah, just to kind of stay on track in that way. And the other again is, if it's possible to align yourself with developers and programmers that don't have an ego that you can converse with as a person, then they'll help you, because they are also problem solvers. Like, they literally are problem solvers and they want to solve a problem. But if you are unfamiliar with your problem, they're going to be equally unfamiliar with it. So you can't really help them understand, and they can't help you understand if there's really something that you're not well versed in as far as the subject matter.
So essentially, this is the pattern that I always see, is that a successful collaboration is when you have a domain expert and technology expert, and they both need to learn each other's language to collaborate successfully. But essentially, they bring a different skill set to each other.